Did everybody enjoy the dinner? How about the dessert? So I want to thank the 3 Brisketeers who are our caterers tonight. And to let you know how small of a world we live in, the grandfather is Jim McGuire, who is a Hall of Famer
I got one, thanks. Okay.
in our softball club. And he actually ran this banquet from 2004 to 2008. So what I'd like to do is I want to move on if we can. So if everybody could find a seat, I'd appreciate it. And then we'll start with our inductees. And as a personal favorite to one of my favorite inductees, the first person I'm going to introduce is one of my favorite little ladies. And that'll be Judy Chris. I was fortunate enough to serve on the board alongside Judy several years ago, and it was a great time to be together. Yes, I can.
You don't need to. Okay. I know. First, I'd like to thank the selection committee and Yogi for the nomination. Thank you. Yogi, first thing I did when I moved here from New York was sign up for a golf league, because that's what I thought I was going to spend my time doing. I was and still am playing senior softball on a travel team called the Nor'easters, which is based in Connecticut and Long Island. But I really didn't think about playing here. One Saturday, I was driving down R.H. Johnson, and there was a women's game going on. So I stopped and watched the game, and as I was leaving, on the bulletin board, it said women's practice Friday afternoons. So I came back, and I met Judy White and Carol Bowden, and I joined the Hot Flashes. So then, the next week, when I'm at practice, there's co-ed games going on, and I met Ken Skinner. And he said, why don't you play co-ed? So he introduced me to Laurel Andrew, who was the chair of the committee, and she said, great, you're on my team. And I became a pepper. Then I went to the green team and was placed on a national league team. Back then there were only American National. I played there until the Central League was developed by Dennis Christensen and Ted DeCampo. So now, 15 years later, I think back and I've played on a lot of teams, but I don't think of how the teams did. What I think of are the players that I played with and against, some of whom we've lost, but many I consider friends. None more so than Carol Bowden, who I've known since day one, and her sister Janice. They basically adopted me. I'm now the 4th sister in the Bowden family. Thank you guys, love you. So as I accept this award, I would like you to be as grateful as I am for this club, which is not as much about competition as it is about camaraderie and friendship. But like all the clubs in the Sun City,
Playing tomorrow, David.
it only works when people step up and get involved. So, not to sound too corny, but I paraphrase John F. Kennedy and say, ask not what the club can do for you, ask what you can do for the club. Thank you.
Judy Christ.
With that accent, I never would have guessed she was from New York. What I'd like to introduce next is a guy that I've grown close to over the past couple of years. He's gone through some major health issues, but he's back to playing. And personally, I couldn't be happier for him. But he served as president of Sun City while I was serving as president of Sun City West. And we spent a lot of time chatting, I should say. But it was one of the best times of my life. So I'd like to introduce the next 2026 Hall of Fame inductee, Ron Collins.
Wow. It's great that as many people showed up because it is a community. I'd like to congratulate the class of 26. Congratulations to you. And then I want to read a quote from Lou Holtz, Hall of Fame football coach at Notre Dame University. He said, if you want to be happy for an hour, eat a steak. If you want to be happy for a day, play golf. If you want to be happy for a week, go on vacation. But if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, put your faith in Jesus Christ. And I totally agree with that. What you're looking at today is a miracle. A year ago, when I was at Mayo Clinic, they said, without a stem cell transplant, you have less than 2 years probably, maybe 2 years, but no quality of life. I could not walk across the room. It was so hard to breathe. I had no blood. And a miracle after miracle after miracle. And lo and behold, somebody from Europe, a 43-year-old, gave the stem cell to me, and I had a stem cell transplant, and I never got sick one time with all the chemo. So today, I'm 44 years old. Not sure if that's exactly how that works, but what I want to do right now, just for a minute, I just want to thank the community of Sun City and Sun City West. When we were at Mayo Clinic, we had an Airbnb, and on our wall, I said to my wife, I said, I think I need to start putting the cards. When we got there, we already had 3 cards in the mailbox from Sun City and Sun City West. And before we were done, we had 130 cards from Sun City and Sun City West. And I'll never forget, some of them said, ball in the fall. And that started from Dennis Robbins. And I'm so appreciative of that because that was great motivation for me at that time. I also want to take this time to publicly thank my wife, Ellen. Little did I know that when I married my high school sweetheart 54 years ago, that she would be the best victory I've ever had. The things that she had to go through in the last 2 years was a miracle by itself for me, and I'm so appreciative. Okay. So now I'm going to pick on some people from Sun City and Sun City West, okay? That's only the right thing to do, I think. And the first one I'm going to pick on is Mike Knowles.
Mike Knowles.
Probably nobody knows Mike, but he's back there in the corner hiding, okay? So they had a green team, and I was here for 28 days, my wife and I, to visit her parents. And so I went to the green team, did that whole thing, and Mike was in charge of it. We went back to Michigan, and then I'm driving out here in January, we're going to play the spring session. Lo and behold, they called me and said, oh, by the way, you didn't get drafted because we lost all your information. Thank you, Mike. So I'm not really sure how all that happened, but they said, well, your only choice is to play in the National League. So I said, I don't think you want me in the National League because of, they said, well, that's your only choice. So, okay, I showed up and the guy handed me a uniform. He said, oh, this isn't going to work. And I said, I tried to tell you. I played one game in the National League, and then they moved me to the Central League on Monday. And I played one game there. I hit a home run my first time up, and they said, oh, this isn't going to work either. And so I said, you know what, I never played softball before. I have a brand new glove and a bat. I never played before. So just let me play for a while. So I played for 3 weeks in the Central League, and they moved me then to the American League. And Dennis Robbins drafted me, had a little special trial day or whatever they called it. And he said, will you play third base? And I said, well, sure, I'll play third base. Why not? And then when I got home that night, I looked up on the internet, what's the attributes to play third base? Number 1 was courage. I was going like, okay, now I understand. They want a big dummy to stand on third base and be a backstop. I filled the bill. During that time also, because I hadn't played, Tim Davis was my neighbor. We lived at Fairway Court East, and he took me to El Mirage and threw balls at me, hit balls at me, and all kinds of things, and tried to coach me. I'm not sure how that all worked out. I also met Lloyd Sturlow during that time. Lloyd and I talked the same language because we're both from education. And after I hit that home run, this guy comes up to me and he says, my name's Jerry, and I got a motorhome, and we go play tournaments. You want to play? I'm going like, why not? And so there's a bunch of guys on the motorhome, and we went and played several games and several tournaments, I should say. That was fun, and that's how I met Lloyd, and that's been a long-lasting relationship there, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Tommy Delopoulos and Mary Delopoulos are two people that are like cornerstones in the foundation of our club, because without Mary, we didn't have food. Okay? And that was pretty important. So we needed that. And Tommy was instrumental in the beginning of starting the plans and drawing plans and talking to the rec center folks about building us some kind of a new clubhouse. And also during that time, Chuck Winthrop, I think Chuck is here too, right back there. And Chuck sent me a letter. Oh, I have these 2 files. I have a file I've had from education very beginning. Sometimes as educators you get some really nasty mail. Well, I would put those in one file. And you also get some nice mail. I put that in another file. I got one of the nicest letters I've ever gotten. You know, people have nice stationery. No, Chuck doesn't. He tore off a piece of paper. It was torn off something. I don't know, something out of a oyster basket. I'm not really sure what. But this is what he wrote on it. He said, Ron, if you ever need anything, if you need blood, I'll give it to you. And I thought, what a letter. That letter went in a good file. At that time, coming back from in January, in October, Ellen and I were driving out, and we had Mary and Ricky Tolan on the phone. And we told them, well, because I know they did a lot of things with food and stuff at the ballpark, we said, hey, we're going to bring a crock pot and hot dogs, and we're going to give free hot dogs away at the park. And Ricky said, no. He said, I'm a professional hot dog stand owner. And what happened is that you people that have seen the hot dog machine we have at the park, well, Ellen and I didn't use our crock pot. Mary and Ricky provided a hot dog machine. So every now and then we have free hot dogs at the park, and it was a pretty good deal. Dennis Robbins, Dan Braddock tricked me into being on the board. I'm pretty sure they did. The Sun City senior softball. And when I got on the board, I realized, you know what, probably I do have a skill set that could take take the club to the next level, because we needed to do, a lot of discussion, I hate to say politicking, with the folks over here. None of these folks over here, except Steve, was on the board at that time. But we spent tons and tons of time, talking over plans, making plans. You know, Tommy DeLapo was one of the first ones to draw a plan, then Dan got involved in it. Arnie Kavarnberg was major in that also. And before we were done, we negotiated a $1.4 million renovation of the park. And we have a very nice softball park now. Thank you. Dan did teach me the ropes of being a president and things I needed to do for that remodel. I also had a very good board. Keith Zellhofer was one of our champions on it. He can't be here tonight because his mother-in-law passed away, so he's back in Wisconsin right now. We became very good friends, and he's done a lot of things in the softball club. Hall of Fame, Tim Heaton. I don't know if Tim's here, I haven't seen him here tonight, but Tim was our secretary while I was there, and it was great because I would sit down after we would have a discussion, have a board meeting, and he would go over things with me. He said, this is a good idea, maybe not this one, and this was a good idea. And he would critique it, and I like that, because I need constructive criticism in those things. Tim Davis and Mark Casala kept the books. They handled all the money. So if they're driving new cars, well, I don't know about that. Hall of Famer Dennis Robbins is a hard guy to say no to, but he also is a great guy to motivate you, just with kind words and things like ball in the fall. That was a simple thing that he would write on cards that he would send me, and it would always be Dennis and Bell. And I so appreciated it. I kept all those. I have a box full of them. During that time that I was a president, I was lucky enough to meet most of the sheriff's department in Sun City, because we had 6 break-ins. The good thing that came from that, though, when there's B&Es, there's got to be something to fix it. So what was the fix? The fix was, we really need to build that storage building and make it so they can't break into it all the time. And then we need to get the clubhouse done so they can't break into that. And that just propelled itself forward. Before we were done, we secured a vote for $1.4 million and remodeled the park. And we have a very nice park because of it. And there's a lot of people involved in that. Dan Brady and Steve Ober were very instrumental in ours now, because Steve is our president now, in putting money into the field to make sure that our playing surface is a good playing surface every day and for every game. And Roger Beckus is here someplace too, and his whole crew is the one that gets there early in the morning. I couldn't do that. You know, I milked cows until I was 18 years old on the farm. Had to get up at 5:30. I don't do that anymore. Okay? But he gets there early to make sure the thing is set up, and they run that. Sun City West Governing Board made some decisions that caused a lot of problems. 99% of the players from Sun City West, I don't think signed up for it. And I'm pretty sure most of the people in this room never signed up for what happened. I work with Dave Riggs and Nick Luca. I got a really nice telephone call 2 days ago from Dave Riggs. He's in Florida. And we used to go to breakfast together. And then we would talk back and forth about what can we do to make our clubs better. And Dave come up one day and he said, you know what, I have a 5-year plan now. I'm going like, a 5-year plan? That's pretty novel. That's a pretty good idea. So I started making a 5-year plan, and I didn't realize that by the time I was done being president, we have done all the things that were on my 5-year plan. And it started with Dave Riggs, because he said, I want to have two out in the center field. I want to have 2 batting machines and batting cages for our players. Sun City, we became a very determined, united group. 40 people would meet at my house and make our club work. Jack McCormick and Ken Burke built a new website. Pauline Robinson was the driving force for our co-ed and our women's softball. She would come up with like 30 women to play softball. Now, if you know Pauline, she's very quiet, gentle, soft-spoken person. No, I learned in a hurry, as you begin to deal with this, you gotta make sure you keep Pauline in her lane. But don't stop her. Turn her loose, because that enthusiasm has built a great program, and now at Sun City, we have a co-ed program. I think there's 4 teams that play on Saturdays. And that's just outstanding, and it's because of her. Larry Chapman took over the Central League, which didn't surprise anybody, with all of his friends. And they've done a great job, continue to build that. We have a great softball club at Sun City because of volunteers, past and present presidents' leadership. Sun City softball is successful because of the unselfish work of the members and the servanthood leadership each one provides. Just thank you so much.
Next person I'd like to bring up is our 2026 Hall of Fame inductee, Dennis Christensen.
Wow, what a nice crowd here. This is the largest group I've had to speak to since my high school coaching days years ago. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee and my family sitting over there, Marty and my son Alan, and Melissa from Cincinnati, and Tabby and Terry. And also, I'm a Desert Rose guy. So I've been here 27 sessions with Desert Rose. It was probably one of the best sponsors we ever had. They bought billboards and sponsored our team for like from 2005 through 2025, and I think they're out of business right now. But what a great sponsor they were, and I was with them for 27 sessions, and I just wanted to say it was so much fun playing for Desert Rose. We started the Central League Committee in 2014. We had to do it because there were so many teams in the National League. And the people that we worked with really helped us. Ted DeCampo and I got together with Bob Dobbins and Bob Peck and Craig Hone all summer long to start the Central League, and they really helped us. They were great guys. And our Central League Committee, we've had great leaders. Larry Reed, John Borello, Lloyd Sturwald, Randy Setchi, and Jim Kreider. They're all great chairmen for the Central League, and I'm proud of them. Working with them. I'd like to say something for Dan Burke. He's been a great friend of mine and supported me all this time. What a great job he did with the Empire. Starting the Empire program in the Central League. I want to thank Jerry Scapito and Dave Siegel for letting me help them manage this last year. And I'm finally going to be done with helping with the managing because I'm getting up there in age. I want to thank the board for letting me play with my son Alan in the one-pitch tournament. We had a great time. Alan had 3 or 4 home runs over the fence, but he's a heck of a ball player, and he's the father of my two grandsons that are playing college ball now, and that was a lot of fun. Larry Chapman, if you're here, no more meetings, Larry. Larry didn't like the meetings that I had all the time to do. So I had a lot of fun, and it's a great program, and thank you all for being here.
All right, our next inductee will be Pete Lawford.
When Ron Weeble first came up and talked to me about the committee, I said, Ronnie, what did they call me? And he said, no, you don't understand. They want to give you a prick. Where's Steve Stark? Steve, you know how to make God laugh? You tell him your plans. When Donna and I were planning our retirement, softball was nowhere near being in the picture. I thought my softball, my baseball days were far behind me. Our plan was to move to Arizona and play golf, travel, do a little sightseeing, explore the state. But one day we happened to find Del Webb Memorial Softball Field and met Arvid Peterson. Where's Arvid? This is all your fault, Arvid. Truly, Sun City senior softball ambassador. Everything changed. My love for the game that I thought had died many years ago was rekindled. Suddenly golf, travel, sightseeing became secondary, and I heard God laugh. I love playing softball, always have. The past 10 years have been the most enjoyable of my life. Friendships that have developed will be cherished for the rest of my life. I'm honored to be inducted into the hall with 3 people that I truly admire. Mary Tolan, it was a joy to be around. Right, Mary? On the field or behind the scenes, she's a powerhouse of Sun City softball. Ricky Tolan, whose contributions to Sun City softball are so very much appreciated. From green team to hot dogs, everything in between. Thank you, Ricky. Ron Koppitz, whose leadership as club president was epic. From the new clubhouse, the batting cage, field improvements, just to name a few. Your personal strength, Ron, and your positive attitude are an inspiration to us all. Thank you. I am so very lucky. I'm 75 years old, able to play competitive softball, have a beautiful wife who I love.
And I know loves me, although sometimes I wonder why. Those of you who don't know, Don Laufer is the president of Angels in the Outfield for the past 4 years and has done an outstanding job. Don, please stand up. Stand up, Don. I think we would all like to have a legacy, something to be remembered by. And I think mine would be, he was a good player, he was a good man, he was my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Donna. Up next, I'd like to introduce our 2026 Hall of Fame inductee, Jimmy Kreider.
I grew up in East Lansdowne, a town of about 3,000 right outside of Philadelphia. We had 4 Little League teams: Lansdowne Ice and Cold, Fernwood Cold Cuts, the Kiwanis Club, and the Odd Fellows Lounge. I was a Kiwana, but I always wanted to be an Odd Fellow because they had the Phillies colors, and I think if you ask Debbie, I've achieved my goal. I got my love of baseball from my father, who managed me through the age of 15. His name was Don, but everybody in East Lansdowne called him Casey after Casey Stengel, who was then the longtime manager of the Yankees. He was famously known for knowing the rules inside and out, and during games he carried a dog-eared copy of the rules in his back pocket in case he needed to educate the umpires. Of course, my mom was my biggest fan, and I remember a game when I was pitching, and I was getting squeezed pretty bad by the ump, and she was letting them have it pretty good. And about the 3rd inning, he said, "Ma'am, if you want to stay in the park, you have to go to the center field bleachers because I don't want to hear it anymore." And she appealed to my dad for some help. He said, "Gene, I think you should move because you're not really helping us here." Now that was an interesting night at home. In my mother's defense, however, that happened to be a night where game time came and we didn't have an umpire. And what they did in that instance was they'd go down the street to the local bar and say, "Who wants to make $2?" Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but back then you could get a glass of beer for 10 cents. So we pretty much ended up with somebody that was out of money and wanted 20 more beers. Now picture it, 1965 East Lansdowne Little League Championship game. I'm on the mound in the last inning with a 1-run lead, and on third base is my next door neighbor and arch nemesis, Eddie Pollard. The ball's hit back to me. I glance at third and I slowly turn toward first. I know he can't help himself. He can't help, he's got to score that run. So I spin around and nail him as he's trying to dive back into third. I got the next guy out, and we won the championship. So, long story short, I basically peaked at 12. And of course, this is where Debbie would say, "You remember all that, and you don't know where you put your keys." Well, fast forward 50 years, and we moved to Sun City West, and even though Deb and I are not really joiners, I wanted to play softball, so I joined the softball club. And that's where I met people like Lloyd Sturwall and Dan Burke and Randy Stepchie and Dennis Horvath, Larry Chapman, Tim Heenan, Jim Smith, Jim Granucci, and they all welcomed me and showed me the ins and outs of the club. And I want to thank them for that. When we moved here, we didn't expect to find a family. But not only did we find one, we realized we needed one. And I want to thank you for welcoming us into your softball family. Our lives have never been so full. Thank you.
Our next inductees is a couple. So, without further ado, Murray Tolan and Ricky Tolan. Okay, we won't be up here very long. First and foremost, I want to thank Jesus Christ, whom, without, I would not be here many times over. Thank you, the Sun City Rec Board, past and present, for our beautiful facility. And Mr. Collins and I go way back. Thank you, Sun City West, for putting on such a lovely evening tonight. Thank you to all our sponsors, past and present. I would also like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee, Ron Weeble, Larry Chapman, who held this appointment to the Hall of Fame over my head, threatening to revoke his vote unless I promised to help him pick fruit with Jerry, for Jerry on Wednesday. But now I'm already here, so maybe I don't have to do that now. I would like to thank Steve Opert, Dave Rackhouse, Sini Huber, Steve Kruger, Sue Skagg, and a guy I share our wonderful granddaughters with, Nolan Hess, our present board, and all the past boards. I have to mention our ground crew, Roger Beckus, Larry Thorson, Jan Mandel, and my Friday golf partner, Eliu Gonzalez. These guys work tirelessly. Angels in the outfield, the people up in the crow's nest, the managers, the committee members of all the leagues, Marty Granucci, our new head of our beautiful kitchen, and a special thank to the man who has provided free hot dogs to our club for the past 3 and 4 years. You know who you are and you're here, and we appreciate you. And most of all, I'd like to thank my wonderful wife who is joining me on the podium. All are more worthy than I. Please don't allow Randy Benson to come up and say anything about the 47 years that we've known each other. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm pretty sure I baked my way into the Hall of Fame. Right, people? With all my cookies and peanut brittle. And then there's Ricky, who has gotten me involved in many things, some good, some not so good. But this softball club is one of the best. I remember helping him with Green Team and telling all the new players the only thing they would regret is not doing it sooner, because this is the most amazing group of human beings they will ever be friends with. It's been my pleasure to serve the club in many different ways. This is truly an honor. Thank you all.
Mary said it would be short and sweet, and it was, just like her. We have one final award, and Chuck Whitrick.
Those of you that know me probably don't want to know me. Those of you don't probably don't want to know me anyhow, so it doesn't matter. A couple years ago, when I was fortunate enough to be elected to the Hall of Fame, I thought about the people that do things behind the scenes. Most of them are the women and don't get recognized. So I put a team together, and we got the board to prove us that we have what we call the honor roll. And once a year, we're going to nominate somebody to be elected into the honor roll for those that gave but did not play. So it's my great pleasure if I can get Pauline Dewey to come down here. What people don't know is some of the older people, and we have people in the hall that belong in the Hall of Fame from regular ball players that are not selected because the new people that are here do not know who the old people are. So, Pauline has done many things in the club years ago. When I first joined the club, a handful of people did everything, and there wasn't a lot of participation. Now we have a lot of people doing a lot of things. And we do appreciate that, but we want to recognize some of the older people too that we know people don't have. She used to help out with making coffee and making the donuts, making John get up and do the stuff that she had to do. So she's the driving force, and she's done things in the crow's nest. I let John Dewey every time I was a manager because I knew Pauline would keep statistics for me. So it was kind of really great, and she called me on that one time. I had to get burned, but so I want to put in the honor roll. Her name is on a brick, and I have her name in the plaque this year. Mary Denopoulos didn't get hers because it wasn't here on time, but we made sure that we're going to get it ready now. So once a year, we're going to elect somebody for the honor roll for those that gave but did not play. The only thing I have to say now is, when you go home, drive carefully, because the government needs a lot of people to pay taxes.
Sure. I just wanted to let everybody know that there is another very special person here tonight, and he's sitting at this table right here. We all call him the chairman of the board at Sun City, and it's Tate Douglas, who is our honor. I didn't recognize Tate, but we're all standing on his shoulders. Thank you, Tate. You're the man.
Dennis, and thank you, Mr. Tate. Well, that pretty much wraps up our program. I'd like to thank all the inductees. It's worthy for all of you to be part of this special circle. Thank you for all that you've done. And I don't know how many people realize this, but to get into the Softball Hall of Fame, it's not about talent. It's all about what you're willing to give to the club. And these guys have gone far and beyond what normal people do, and it's greatly appreciated. So thank you all. I'd like to thank all the rec board members who took time out of their busy schedules to come here tonight. We appreciate all that you do for us. I'd like to thank all the sponsors who came out tonight. Without you, it makes playing softball a little tougher, and we appreciate all the things that you also donate to us. And lastly, I'd like to thank everyone who came tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules to recognize all of these special individuals. Next year's event will be in Sun City. I know I will do all I can to make sure that we still do this event as a combined organization. And without further ado, Norm, how would you like to play us some music? So let the music and the dancing begin.
How's it going?
I think I'm gonna move my camera so I can get more. I think
I think
I can take his table.